Hey again, and welcome back. We're about to read chapter 10 of Viking Boy. As always, let me know what you think after you've watched it, before you watch the next one. Make some predictions, all that mumbo jumbo. Chapter 10, Shadow of the Past. Gunnar headed back to Rurik's hut deep in thought. Father had been a warrior in the Greek Emperor's guard too, so he and Rurik might have known each other. Perhaps even fought in the same battles. If they had, then perhaps Rurik could be persuaded to think of him not as a slave, but as the son of a shield brother, someone he should help. Gunnar had begun to wonder if he would ever be able to escape from Kalpang unaided. Talking to Rurik about Miklagard was worth a try, anyway, although he would have to choose the right moment. After a while he turned a corner and stopped in his tracks. Two boys were standing by the entrance to another alley a little further ahead. One of them was Gork, and he was talking intently to the other, a red-haired boy who seemed nervous and bewildered. Suddenly Gunnar realised what Gork was doing, and he felt a hot rush of anger. Gork had found another victim. "What do you want, slave?" said Gork, frowning as Gunnar approached. "Let me guess what he said to you," Gunnar said to the red-haired boy. "He's offered to take you to a great tavern." "Oh, that's right," said the boy. "How did you know?" "Don't listen to him, my friend." "Oh, that's Gork." "Don't listen to him, my friend," Gork said, easing between Gunnar and the boy. "He's nothing but a slave who talks too much. On your way, Gunnar." "I know, because that's how he trapped me," said Gunnar. "I'm a slave because I believed his lies." Gunnar pulled down the neck of his tunic to show the boy his thrall ring, the skin rubbed raw beneath it. "So you'd better get as far away from here as you can, unless you want to end up wearing one of these." "Now, you really are being a nuisance," Gork hissed. "Ivor! Njal!" Gork stepped aside, and Ivor and Njal emerged from the shadows behind him. The red-haired boy took one look at them and turned to run. Ivor made a grab for his arm, but Gunnar shoved Gork, sending him crashing into his henchmen. The three of them fell in a tangle of arms and legs, and the boy got away. "You'll pay for that, slave," Gork snarled, pushing Ivor and Njal off and struggling to his feet. "Well, go on, you idiots! Kick him!" Any fear Gunnar might have felt was overcome by his hatred of the alley rats who had sold him for a few gold coins, trapping him in Kalpang when he should have been on his quest. Njal was on all fours groping for his club in the mud. Gunnar stamped on his hand, grinding into it with his heel and feeling the knuckle bones crack. Njal howled, and Gunnar picked up the club to deal with Ivor, smashing it into his knee. Ivor went down like a tree felled by an axe. Then Gork came at him with a knife, and Gunnar whipped round, barely noticing the slim blade slicing into his sleeve. He smashed the club into Gork's elbow, and his enemy sank to his knees, the colour draining from his face. Gunnar stood over him, ready to strike again. Gork flinched, his eyes wide with fear, but Gunnar lowered his club. "Just get out of my sight," he said. Gork scuttled away. The other two stumbled after him, Njal clutching his fingers, Ivor limping. Gunnar threw the club aside, then turned to go, only to stop in his tracks once more. Rurik was leaning against a nearby hut. "You look pleased with yourself," said Rurik. "That must have felt good, although I see Gork has left his mark." Rurik nodded at Gunnar's arm, where blood was staining the cloth. "It's nothing," said Gunnar, not wanting to make any fuss. Rurik frowned. "It will still need cleaning." Back at the hut, Rurik quickly built up the fire and heated some water in a silver bowl. He added a sprinkle of aromatic dried herbs from a little bag he took out of the chest, then dampened a fine cloth in the fragrant water and gently cleaned Gunnar's wound, a shallow cut the length of a little finger. He carefully patted Gunnar's arm dry and tied another cloth around it. "You'll live," said Rurik, ruffling the boy's hair. He went over to the door and emptied the bowl, chucking the water out into the alley. "At least until next time you get into a fight, although you weren't bad at all." "You're good at this," said Gunnar, nodding at the next bandage round his arm. He pulled on his tunic, making sure not to spoil Rurik's handiwork. "You get to see a lot of wounds in my trade," said Rurik, "and you learn to take care of your comrades as they take care of you." Gunnar studied the big man and thought of the way Rurik had just salved his wound and ruffled his hair and practically called him a comrade. He hadn't seen any other slaves in Kalpang being treated like that by their masters. It seemed more the kind of thing a brother might do for a brother, or a father for a son. "Did you learn that when you were in Miklagard?" he said quietly. Rurik glanced at him, surprised. Who told you I've been to Miklagard?
Thorkel. I was talking to him earlier, and it just sort of came up.
Ah, I'd bet, snorted Rurik. Thorkel gossips like an old woman.
But is it true? Were you in the Greek Emperor's guard?
Why do you want to know? Rurik threw a log on the fire. Sparks flew, the flames leapt higher. Shadows danced around them like ghosts.
Because if it is, we have something in common. My father went to Miklagard, and he served in the Greek Emperor's guard too.
Is that so? And when might that have been?
I'm not sure. I know he was back before I was born.
Well, we could not have known each other then, said Rurik, shaking his head. I saw Miklagard for the first time 5 summers ago. They fell silent for a moment. Gunnar was bitterly disappointed that this new piece of knowledge hadn't changed things. Rurik stared into the fire, his face closed, the way he looked when a black mood was about to settle on him. Now what? Thought Gunnar. How could he build on this revelation, get Rurik to listen to him?
What's Miklagard like? He asked eventually. Father never talked of it much, except to say the god houses of the Christians are full of gold.
The Greeks call them churches, muttered Rurik, and I don't talk about those days much either, not even to Thorkel when I'm drunk.
Why is that? What happened to you in Miklagard?
Gunnar waited, but Rurik didn't answer.
What was it you said to me? Gunnar went on. Oh yes, there's always a story to tell, so maybe I can guess some of yours. You came here to forget something bad, and you punish yourself for ending up as one of Orm's hounds. That's why you have your black moods and get drunk.
Rurik scowled at him. Take care, boy. Some men would kill you for speaking to them like that. My moods are not your business, or anyone else's. And why all this talk of your father? What do you want from me?
My freedom. And your help.
Rurik snorted. To do what?
Avenge my father. He was murdered by raiders.
So it seems both our lives are darkened by the shadow of the past. But if you want a man's help, you must tell him the whole story.
Then you must tell me yours. That's only fair.
I'll be the one who decides what's fair, boy, said Rurik. And this is not the moment for me to talk. I will tell you my story, only when I am ready. Gunnar knew he was beaten, so he plunged into his tale. Rurik sat listening in silence. I'll take your word for some of it, he said, when Gunnar had finished. I've seen holes burned, and that part of your story has the feel of truth. But the part about the Valkyries, can you prove you actually saw them? Gunnar looked at him, then lowered his gaze.
No, I can't.
At least you're honest, said Rurik. I've seen some strange things, but I've never seen a Valkyrie, and I've fought in my share of battles.
So you don't believe me, said Gunnar. I swear it's all true.
That's not nearly enough, boy. Rurik stood up, his face closed off once more. Now, I have a raging thirst I need to quench. Gunnar watched his master go, and felt his heart fill with blackness. That's the end of that chapter. Yeah, once again, fill me in on what your thoughts are about that chapter. Let me know what your predictions are. Yeah, that. Bye-bye.